With the release of the new fruits like Yeti and Dragon, Blox Fruits PvP is full of spammy and brain dead combos. But what are the fruits that actually take skill? So today, I'm gonna rank every fruit in PvP based on how much skill they really take and how much skill they are. And trust me, some of these are gonna shock you. So, without any further ado, I'll start the video right away, but before starting, I'll just ask you for a little thing. If you can subscribe, it really helps me out, so make sure you subscribe. Now, let's get into the tier list. Well then, to start this tier list, first we have Chop. Now, usually most of the Chop users are Sword mains because they're using Chop to avoid Sword mains because, well, of course, Chop doesn't take any damage to swords. So I would say Chop is pretty easy to use. I don't think Chop is that tough to use, even though Chop can be used as a fruit main if you want to combo extend with it, but it's pretty simple. Like even the combos for Chop are pretty simple. And I just realized I have been calling the blade fruit the Chop fruit all the time. Whoops, I'm sorry. Well then, next up is Blizzard, and Blizzard, in my opinion, is a really good fruit for PvP, but it needs some practice because the moves for Blizzard, the combo starters for it, are pretty annoying to hit. The Blizzard V move, the Blizzard C move, and the Blizzard X move. They can be hit as if you start a combo, but starting a combo with just Blizzard is pretty hard. So I would say it needs some practice. It's not really that tough, but it's not easy either, so I would say it goes here. Next is Bomb. Now I don't know if I should even include this in here, but look. Next up we have Buddha. Now Buddha fruit is, of course, no skill at all because what? You're gonna transform, you're gonna just spam M1s and then gonna kill your enemy if you are peeping well. Some people do use the fruit main version that has all the moves, but the moves are pretty easy to use as well. I don't think you don't need any explanation or any guide for it. Next, we have Control. Control is pretty tough to use since I've also made a guide on it if you want to PvP with it, but Control is incredibly tough to use, and I would say it goes up to tough to master or extremely hard to use. Control is really strong because Control can teleport here and there like really fast, and you can basically become invincible if you're teleporting here and there, up and down. You can't die. So I would say Control is... I would say it's still... Nah, it's extremely hard to use. Because Control doesn't really have any combo starters except Control C, which is like a really small hitbox combo starter. Yeah, Control is extremely hard to use. Next up, we have Dark. Dark used to be really good back in the day. If you remember, the sword main Dark was so broken, but nowadays with like transformation fruits, Dark like really fell off because the hitbox just doesn't work well. And so I would say Dark isn't really tough to master because you still can use it. Like Dark C can be hit. I'd say it needs some practice to use though, because it's not easy by any means, but it's not tough either. I would say it's probably higher than Blizzard because Blizzard C can be hit fairly easily, but Dark C and Dark X is pretty tough because you have to predict movement and all, and that's all. Next up, we have Diamond. Diamond got reworked soon, but they made it fairly strong, and I would say Diamond right now is also here. Like back then, I would say it's tough to master, extremely hard because fruit. But back then also there was like no one was using Diamond fruit main. Like now they are. So I would say it needs some practice because Diamond isn't really that easy to use. Diamond X has really short range, and Diamond V is just a broken move, but they both need some level of prediction, so that's why. Next up is Dough. Now, Dough fruit is of course really strong, but the thing is it's pretty easy to use. I wouldn't say it's tough, I wouldn't say it's no skill, because Dough needs to use their combo extenders pretty well to use the infinite combos, but I would say Dough falls under easy to use. It's not... You don't need much practice, as much practice like Diamond or Blizzard as you need with Dough, because Dough has tons of combo extenders. So I would say it's pretty easy to use Dough. Next up, I don't think there needs to be any argument for this. Dragon takes no skill at all. Whether it be Eastern or Western, you transform, you use your moves, you win. That's literally all you have to do. If it was hybrid dragon, then I would put it in here because even if hybrid, like Dragon C, Spiky Pull, then combo extend, it's pretty easy still. But untransformed dragon, yeah. I mean, transformed dragon is goes to no skill at all. Falcon, no one uses Falcon, but the ones who do use Falcon, it's pretty tough to use. Yeah, because Falcon is like, you don't have many combo extenders. You do have one, I'm sure, but that's really all you can do. And I guess you have flight, but it's kind of useless. So Falcon is tough to master. Flame really fell off. Like, Flame used to be really good, but now it's just because of the newer fruits that have been added, Flame just fell off. But right now, I would say it's still pretty easy to use. You don't need to learn a lot with Flame. All you need to do is hit your moves, which have pretty good AoE if you can. But Flame doesn't really have a lot of combo potential, so it's pretty easy to use this spammer. Next up we have Gas. Now, of course you know Gas is pretty easy to use, but is it as easy to use as Buddha Dragon and Dragon, Eastern and Western Dragon? No, it's not. Because some people, except like no one uses Dragon untransformed. But Gas, people do use it untransformed because untransformed Gas has really good combo potential. So I would say Gas is pretty easy to use, but it's not no skill, fully no skill at all. Next up we have Ghost. Now, Ghost is a tough one because Ghost is fairly easy to use. You can just activate your revive and then go fight enemies, but the fruit main Ghost is pretty tough to master because you have to. It's the same with Dark because it's like almost Dark but worse. That Ghost X and Ghost C, they don't have much range, but they can be hit if you are good with predictions. So I would say it's pretty tough to master Ghost, but really rewarding if you can. You have almost 2 lives. Barrier, no one really uses Barrier, but the ones who do use them, it's pretty tough to master because you have to hit your moves like pinpoint accuracy. That's why. But it kind of sucks, so yeah, don't use it. Ice falls under the same category as Dark because Ice needs some practice to predict your enemies well, and the big flaw with Ice is that if your enemy is air camping, you can't really do much. So it needs some practice to use well. Otherwise, you'll just waste your cooldown and then your enemy will kill you. Kitsune. Now, hear me out. Kitsune doesn't take much skill, okay? It's like these tiers, no for Kitsune. But it's still not as bad as Dragon or Buddha because these fruits are like use your abilities and win. Kitsune does need some dodging and some skill to use it, but it's still really easy to use. Like, Kitsune doesn't need much to do. Just eat the Kitsune, you're already strong. Gravity. No one uses Gravity and it has terrible value, but Gravity is pretty good. I would say it's tough to master because Gravity's combo extenders and its combo potential is pretty nice. It's just that people doesn't use Gravity for some reason. Leopard. Now, look, I'm gonna be brutally honest here, but with the new fruits, Leopard is really falling off and it's not even that good anymore, except in value. It is pretty good. It's worth a lot. But is it really this low skill or is it easy to use? That's what I'm confused about. I would say it's no skill at all because with Leopard, all you're really doing is just spamming your M1s, going here and there and just using your moves. Unless you're using Hybrid Leopard, which, come on, who uses Hybrid Leopard? Like, that's terrible. Next up is Light. Light is tough to master. I will not say Light is extremely hard to use because the Light, you really need to know how to land your Light X and Light Z to combo extend it. But Light is fairly tough to master because you need good aim and all. Love. A lot of people was using Love when it just got released, but now I don't see many users. But Love is pretty, I would say it's not tough to master, but Love, I would say Love needs some practice to use well. It's not really tough to use love, but it's not easy as well. Next up we have magma. Now, magma used to be really good when like there were no fruits at all, but now it's kind of fallen off. Like only magma C works in the air and everything is just grounded for magma. But I would say if you are using magma, then it needs some practice, because you need some practice to kill air camping enemies, because most of them will just air camp if you're using magma. Next up we have Mammoth. Now, Mammoth is not really that good right now, because most of its moves are Kenshikable and you can just outrun a magma. Magma? Huh? I mean, you can just outrun a Mammoth. So, I would say it's pretty easy to use, because you can just use all your moves and hope to kill your enemy. Otherwise, you'll have to just die, because Mammoth is kind of eh. Pain Fruit. I think you all know where this is going. Pain is really tough to use, because the only versatility that Pain provides is that it has a really strong TP. Otherwise, its other moves can't be really used for combo starters, you'll have to use something else. But if you're using Pain as a combo starter, you'll have to teleport behind your enemy and then use your Pain V, which is your only combo starter, which is really tough to land. So I would say it's probably even tougher to use than Control. Next we have Phoenix. Phoenix, I would say, needs some practice to use, because sure, its moves are like really spammy, but you still have to learn how to land them. Next up we have Portal. Now, if this was like really old, where Portal was not Portal, it was called Door, then I would say Portal was tough to master. But right now, like, they made Portal really good, and I would say it's pretty easy to use Portal right now, because you can just go invisible and try to land moves on your enemy, and if you're not winning, just run away. That's the main thing that makes Portal pretty easy to use. Quake. Now this is a tough one, because honestly I would go tough to master, because you need to really focus on landing your Quake V. Otherwise you can't really do much. But then again, Quake does have other spam moves like Quake X and Quake C, which can land without you using Quake V as a combo starter. So I would say it needs some practice to use, but it's really strong if used well. Now let's not talk about this one. Okay, next up we have Rubber. Rubber is really tough to master, because first thing, Rubber only has one combo extender, which is his Rubber C, that deals a lot of damage of course, and it has a decent combo starter actually, the Rubber Smash move, which is really strong on gear too, because it can teleport and launch your enemies upwards, which can be used to combo start. But it takes a lot of prediction and really tough to master, so I would say Rubber goes to here. Now next up we have Rumble. Rumble is a really strong fruit right now, and it always was, but people back then didn't realize its power. Now, Rumble is tough to place, because I would say Rumble needs some practice, or it's tough to master. But the thing is, since they made Rumble V so broken, the huge Spirit Ball move, it lands super fast and can just combo start, so I would say it needs some practice to use. It's not as tough as it was before since they buffed it. Now Sand. To use Sand well, you really need to know how to land Sand X, because right now, if you can't land your Sand X, then Sand is completely useless. But if you can land Sand X, your opponents can't really escape from your combo, since Sand X breaks skin, and it's really strong. So I would say this goes to tough to master as well. But since Sand can be used as spam as well, because you have Sand Z and Sand V, it's not extremely tough to use, but it's pretty hard to use. Shadow. Shadow 2 is one of the tough ones to place, because it's not really tough to master, since you only need to land Shadow Z to start a combo, and the combo is really strong. So I would say Shadow needs practice to use, because you need to land your Shadow V to really like extend your combos. Smoke. Here again, I am not placing these fruits in the tier list. I should have done it with Bomb as well, because yeah, it's like if no one uses Bomb. Actually, I'll just put it down. Like, go here. Come on, go. Yeah, okay. Next up we have Sound. Sound is pretty okay. Sound is not bad, but it's not really that good either. It can be used to buff your teammate if you're like doing career boss, but I would say sound goes to need some practice as well. Because it's not really tough, but it's not easy as well. Spider. Now, Spider is a tough one to choose because the only combo starter you have is Spider X, which, trust me, is incredibly hard to hit. Unless you're like really good. So I would say Spider is extremely hard to use. Because you really need to know how to land your Spider X. Otherwise, you just can't start a combo. Spirit. Spirit, I'd say, is tough to master because it's not really super skilled. It needs quite some practice, so it's not right here. It's pretty tough to master because you need to land your Spirit C to use it well. And landing Spirit C is a bit tough because you have to first predict your enemy where they are going and then soar behind the prediction and then use Spirit C because it transfers you forward a bit. So that's why Spirit is tough to master. T-Rex. T-Rex is fairly easy to use because you really have to transform and just use your moves. There's nothing else that you're doing with T-Rex unless you're using hybrid T-Rex, which is who uses hybrid T-Rex when you have transform T-Rex? Come on. Okay, but on a serious note, but if it was hybrid T-Rex, then I would say it needs some practice. But on the transformation fruits, I'm counting the transformation, so T-Rex is pretty easy to use. Now we have Venom. Venom, when it came out, was super spam, like everyone was hating on it. But right now, since the other spam fruits came, Venom is like pretty easy to use. Like you don't really need much skill to use Venom. You just have to land your Venom X, which is fairly easy to hit. If you're close to your enemy, then you just have easy moves. Yeti. Now, if it was Yeti hybrid, then I would put it in here. But right now, since Yeti is like broken as hell, the transformation, it's no skill at all. You don't have to do anything to use Yeti. And well, I'll make a new tier for these. Here you go. To use these fruits, you need to have immense skill because I have no idea how you would kill a potential dragon or a potential Yeti with these. So that's really all for the tier list. Thank you for watching. If you find something here that's like wrong, then you can comment and we can discuss it in the comments.